Hi Cancer, how's it going? I hope you're doing wonderful today. Welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. My name is Lynn and I'm going to be doing a general reading for the month of March for you. I'm using runes to do your reading today. I've already cleared the energy. These are the 9 runes that came out, so I'll go through each one individually with you, and then I'll do a summary at the very end. And if you receive any insider guidance, if you could leave me a comment, I would love to hear if any of this resonated with you. So, the first rune that came out is Ingwaz, okay? It represents, so I've made notes on your reading, Cancer, so just bear with me. I'm reading my notes, okay? Ingwaz is the first rune in the spread. It represents the main theme or foundation energy for you during March, okay? Ingwaz is the rune of stored energy, gestation, and completion before a new beginning. It's like a seed underground preparing to sprout. So for you, this suggests March begins with something developing beneath the surface. So what this means for you in March is, number 1, inner growth before outer action. So you may feel like things are quiet or slow or internal at the start of the month. But this rune shows that important transformation is happening internally. Second is a cycle is completing. Ingwaz often appears when a long emotional phase is ending, or a project or idea is almost ready to emerge, or personal healing is reaching closure. And then the third is preparation for a breakthrough. This rune carries the energy of potential about to release. So something you've been working on emotionally, spiritually, or creatively is building toward manifestation. The energetic advice from Ingwaz is to focus on nurturing your inner world. Don't rush the process, and trust that what is forming will soon move into the physical world. Ingwaz often means the seed is ready. So you are a water sign, Cancer, connected to home, emotions, and nurturing. And Ingwaz mirrors this by representing protective incubation and growth within a safe space. And then the next rune is Iwaz. It usually represents the challenge or the influence or deeper process unfolding after the main theme, which was what we just talked about, Ingwaz. Okay, so Iwaz is one of the most powerful protection and transformation runes. It's connected to the yew tree, a symbol of death, rebirth, endurance, and the bridge between worlds. The key themes here are spiritual or personal transformation, endurance through difficulty, protection during a period of change, and standing between two phases of life. So with Ing was first and then I was second, the message becomes interesting. Ing was is saying something is developing internally, and I was is saying the transformation process begins. So for March, this may mean after a period of internal preparation, something begins to shift or test your strength. You may need patience while moving through a transition, or a situation might feel like letting go of an old version of yourself. I was rarely means something bad. It usually means growth that requires resilience. So it's saying you may experience a moment where you must trust your intuition and inner strength. Move through uncertainty without rushing, and understand that transformation is already underway. I was reminds us that the path may twist, but it still leads forward. Okay? Energy is building internally. Something is ready to emerge. A transformational phase begins that requires patience and strength. This combination often appears when someone is on the verge of a personal evolution. Your third dune is Bear Kanon, Bear Kanon, Bear Kanon. It represents the result of the first transformations, or the energy that begins to emerge after the earlier runes. So Bear Kanon is the rune of birth, renewal, nurturing, and natural growth. It's connected to the birch tree, which symbolizes new beginnings and fresh life after winter. The key themes here are new beginnings, healing and emotional renewal, growth that needs nurturing, feminine or maternal energy, and creation, ideas, relationships, projects. Something is developing eternally. A transformational test or transition occurs, and then new life or renewal begins after the transformation. So this suggests that March may start internally and emotionally, but it leads to fresh growth or a new chapter. So after a period of deep emotional or personal transformation, you may experience a fresh start in some area of life. You may experience emotional healing, a new relationship or deeper nurturing connection, or a creative or personal project beginning to grow. Bear Canon also reminds you to treat this new beginning gently. Like a seedling, it needs patience, care, and protection. So we have inner preparation and potential, transformation and endurance, rebirth, and new growth. This pattern is very powerful because it shows something meaningful being reborn after a deep internal process. And then your next rune is Gibo. It represents interaction with others, opportunities arriving, or how the new energy begins to manifest in the outside world. Gibo is the rune of gift, partnership, and balanced exchange. The key themes here are giving and receiving, partnerships and alliances, sacred exchange of energy, or unexpected gifts or opportunities. It's one of the few runes that is perfectly symmetrical, symbolizing balance and equality. Something is developing eternally, a transformation or test occurs, new growth or a fresh start begins, and this new growth now involves exchange or partnership. So this suggests that the new beginning, represented by Berkanon, may involve another person or a mutually beneficial connection. So, Gibo could represent relationships, a balanced romantic connection, or healing within an existing relationship, or meeting someone who plays an important role. It could also represent opportunities, a collaboration, or a helpful person entering your life, or an offer or gift from someone. So, Cancer, you may be learning about healthy reciprocity, not giving too much or receiving without balance. After inner growth and transformation, support or connection appears. The universe may be reminding you that you don't have to go through everything alone. Sometimes the gift of Jibo is the right person or the right conversation or the right opportunity at the right time. Okay, so we have inner preparation, transformation and endurance, new beginning and growth, partnership, gift, or balanced exchange. This is already a very positive progression for you in March. And then the fifth rune is Nauthies. It represents a pressure point, a lesson, or a necessary challenge that shapes how the situation unfolds. Nauthies is known as the rune of need, constraint, and necessary effort. So the key themes are pressure that forces change, or learning through difficulty, or discipline and patience, or recognizing true needs versus desires. It doesn't necessarily mean something negative. It often means a situation that pushes growth because it must happen. You have inner development and potential, transformation or a test of strength, new growth and renewal, partnership or exchange appears, and a challenge or necessity arises that shapes the situation. So this could mean that the opportunity or relationship shown by Jibo may come with a lesson or adjustment. So now these could show up as an emotional lesson, learning healthy boundaries or understanding what you truly need emotionally. It could show up as relationship dynamics, a situation that requires compromise, or realizing whether the exchange is truly balanced. Or it could show up as life circumstances, a delay or obstacle that forces you to slow down and rethink. Sometimes, Nauthies appears when the universe pushes you toward what is necessary for your growth, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. Be patient with temporary pressure. Focus on what is truly necessary and use challenges as tools for strengthening yourself. Nauthies teaches that friction can create wisdom. Your inner potential is forming, transformation begins, a new beginning emerges, partnership or opportunity appears, a challenge or lesson shapes the outcome. This often indicates growth that becomes stronger through a test. And then your sixth rune is Laguz. This rune often represents the emotional or intuitive direction the situation takes after the challenge shown by Nauthies. So Laguz is the rune of water, intuition, emotional flow, and the subconscious. The key themes here are deep intuition, emotional awareness, going with the natural flow, and psychic sensitivity and dreams. This rune is strongly connected to water energy, which resonates deeply with you, Cancer, a water sign. The progression here is very meaningful. Nauthies created pressure or a lesson. Laguz shows the solution. Trust your intuition and emotional wisdom. Instead of forcing things, you may need to listen inward and move with emotional truth. Laguz can show up as heightened intuition, having strong gut feelings, having symbolic dreams, or receiving spiritual messages. It could show up as emotional clarity, understanding your true feelings about a situation, letting your emotions guide decisions. and it can show up as flow instead of resistance. Things begin moving more naturally after the earlier tension. So after pressure or challenge, you're being asked to trust your inner guidance, move with emotional honesty, and allow things to flow rather than forcing outcomes. Laguz often indicates that intuition becomes the compass forward. So your runes are forming a clear journey. You have inner potential forming, then transformation or endurance, a new beginning begins, partnership or exchange appears, a necessary challenge arises, and then intuition and emotional flow guide the way forward. This is starting to look like a deep emotional and spiritual transformation for you in March. And then your 7th rune is Ansuz. Ansuz represents messages, guidance, or wisdom that begins to clarify the path forward. Ansuz is the rune of communication, divine guidance, and inspiration. So the key themes here are important messages or revelations, or guidance from mentors or the divine or your higher self. Speaking and listening with clarity, and wisdom shared through words or signs. It often shows up when something needs to be understood clearly or expressed. Laguz show that intuition and emotional flow guide you. Ansuz adds clarity. Now you may receive insight, advice, or a message that helps make sense of emotional experiences. This can be seen as divine timing or synchronicity. Conversations that clarify confusion, honest expression of feelings, advice from someone else. You might be receiving signs or omens or inner insights. You're understanding lessons from previous challenges. You have ideas that help you navigate changes. Solutions are emerging from reflection and intuition. After going through transformation, growth, and emotional flow, you're being asked to pay attention to the messages around you. Express yourself clearly and honestly. Trust the guidance that comes from higher sources or inner wisdom. Ansuz brings intuition, and final clarity. This shows a very strong emotional, spiritual, and relational journey for you in March. Then your 8th rune is Isa. It represents pause, stillness, or necessary waiting just before the outcome. Isa is the rune of ice, stillness, and reflection. The key themes here are pause or delay, emotional or mental stillness, clarity through patience, and holding steady rather than forcing action. It often shows up when a situation needs time to settle or when reflection is required before moving forward. Ansus brought messages, guidance, and clarity. Esau signals that after receiving guidance, you may need to pause, reflect, or hold steady before taking the next step. This is a very common sequence in rune spreads. Clarity, stillness, then final outcome. Take time to process feelings. Don't rush a decision, even if it feels urgent. There may be delays in plans, but not as a negative. It's for proper timing. There may be a period of observation and reflection. Meditation or contemplation brings insights. Let inner wisdom settle before action. So Esau advises patience is necessary now. Hold your ground emotionally and mentally. Avoid forcing things. Let clarity fully form. Think of it as the calm before the final harvest, which will be represented by Oath Allah, your final rune. So the story of your spread so far is inner potential forming, and then transformation or endurance, new growth begins, partnership or exchange appears, necessary challenge arises, emotional flow and intuition guide, messages and guidance clarify, pause, stillness, and reflection. This shows that March is a deeply transformative month for you, with cycles of growth, challenge, guidance, and a deliberate pause before the final outcome. Then Othala represents the outcome, inheritance, or long-term stability. It's deeply connected to home, roots, and personal legacy. Othala is the rune of ancestry, heritage, belonging, and security. The key themes are home and family, reclaiming personal or spiritual inheritance, long-term stability and grounding, a connection to one's roots or life purpose. It often appears as a culmination of a process, showing what will endure after lessons are learned. So how it connects to the full spread. Looking at your complete March spread, you have inner potential forming, transformation or endurance, new growth begins, partnership or exchange appears, necessary challenge arises, emotional flow and intuition guide, messages and guidance clarify, pause, stillness and reflection, and then stability, roots, and legacy. So this tells a very coherent story for you in March. March begins internally, personal growth and preparation. Emergence and new beginnings. Emotional and relational opportunities appear. Lessons and reflection, challenges and emotional processing are needed. And then culmination. By the end of the month, you find stability, connection to home or heritage, and a sense of belonging. Trust the internal process. Much of March is about inner growth and preparation. Balance relationships and opportunities. Gibo and Nauthies indicate healthy exchange and lessons through challenges. Listen to your intuition and guidance. Listen to your intuition and the guidance that you're receiving. Lagus and Ansus point to emotional and spiritual clarity. Patience brings lasting results. Isa reminds you that stillness is necessary before stability. The outcome is grounding and empowering. Othala ensures that the month ends with connection to home, roots, and long-term stability. March is a transformative and deeply reflective month. This spread emphasizes emotional and spiritual growth, learning from challenges in relationships, gaining clarity through stillness and reflection, and ending the month grounded, secure, and connected to what truly matters. It's a month of preparation, transformation, and ultimate grounding. Perfect for your natural inclination toward home, family, and emotional depth. Focus on inner growth. Take time to reflect and nurture your inner potential. Embrace changes and challenges as opportunities for transformation. Avoid rushing. This is a month for emotional and spiritual preparation. Embrace new beginnings. Look for fresh starts, especially in emotional, creative, or personal areas. Nurture new opportunities carefully, like tending to a seedling. Healing and renewal are central focus. Focus on self-care, okay? Healing and renewal are central. Balance relationships and exchanges. Pay attention to give and take dynamics in partnerships. New opportunities may arrive through others, friends, colleagues, or mentors. Practice healthy reciprocity. Don't overextend or take too much. And learn from challenges. Obstacles or delays may appear. See them as lessons, not setbacks. Stay grounded and identify what is truly necessary versus what is optional. Patience and discipline will strengthen your outcomes. Trust your intuition and flow. Let your emotions and intuition guide your decisions. Go with the natural flow instead of forcing results. Pay attention to dreams, signs, or subtle messages. Listen and communicate. Important guidance, insights, or conversations may clarify situations. Be clear in expressing your truth and listen to advice from a trusted source or trusted sources. Spiritual or creative inspiration is strong. Note any insights. Pause and reflect. Take time for stillness and observation before acting. Avoid impulsive decisions. This pause is needed for clarity and alignment. Meditate or journal to integrate lessons. Find stability and belonging. By the end of the month, focus on home, family, roots, and long-term security. Reclaim your personal space, identity, or foundation. What you build now has lasting impact. Ground yourself in what matters most. March is a month about preparation, growth, reflection, and grounding. Inner work leads to opportunities. Challenges strengthen your path. Intuition, guidance, and patience ensure lasting results. And the final reward is a sense of security, belonging, and emotional stability. Nurture, navigate, and ground your power. So that is your reading for March, Cancer. I hope you receive some insight or guidance from these messages today, from these runes. Thank you for letting me channel these messages today. I'm truly very grateful. I hope you have an awesome month, and I will see you next time. Take good care. Bye.